Welcome to the Christie Taylor Show. I'm your host, Christie Taylor. Super excited to have you here. And I have been celebrating all month long Black Music Month and also coming off of the Juneteenth weekend, Father's Day weekend. Want to send out love to everybody and hopefully you've had a safe holiday weekend. Of course, today, in lieu of Black Music Month, I'm super excited to bring yet another amazing recording artist to the Christie Taylor Show. His name is Jai Musiq. Now, with his graduation from the historical Morehouse College in May 2018 behind him, Jay will continue to put his all into a passion that came into his life and changed everything forever. The music. Joshua Johnson, aka Jai Musiq, influenced by his charismatic and soulful upbringing in southern charmed Memphis, creatively blends gospel, R&B, hip hop, and blues into a one-of-a-kind sound that is sure to captivate you through every listen. Being on the music scene since 2015, Jai Musiq's debut project, the JJEP, introduced a new music sound, highlighting Jay's innovative stray away from the usual, while also simultaneously staying true to the city that raised him. Now, his sophomore project, Dolan Drive Dreams, emphasized Jay's resilience to get back to his true self while playing homage to those who he draws inspiration from, like Drake, J. Cole, and Kid Cudi. Now, he came back in 2018 with his debut album, the Sap Junt, which shines light on love and vulnerability. His recent single, Two for You, was released on the 1 year anniversary of that album and featured two tracks with varying vibes. And he followed that with Two More for You, which focused strictly on R&B. Now, Jay released his second album, All for Y'all, in August of 2020, a masterpiece containing, check this out, 17 songs describing Jay's journey not only as an artist, but also as a man. Now, the project hit 100,000 streams on Spotify within 3 months. Yes, you heard me right, 3 months of its release. His third album, H.I.M, was released this February of 2022, and it takes the deepest look into Jay's mind that we've gotten to so far. Now, this is just the beginning for Jai Musiq, and I'm super excited to have him. Hey, welcome to the Christie Taylor Show, Jai Musiq. Just feel free to just chat. How you doing?
How you doing? How you doing? I'm doing all right. I'm happy to be here. Happy to be here on your platform. Headphones falling
Oh,
off my head. That's how
oh,
excited I
you
am.
good? You good? You good?
I
Well,
tried to
first,
hide them with my hair.
well, you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job. Well, first of all, super excited to have you here on the show. And it's really appropriate because this is Black Music Month, and Memphis is a city full of amazing musicians from every genre that can be named. And of course, you're bringing newness to, first of all, a mix of genres. But can we run it back? Now, you're a Morehouse man, but you
Yes,
also
ma'am.
fell in love with music. So tell me which came first.
Music or Morehouse? That's what you asking?
Yes.
Music for sure. I've been doing music since I was like four, singing in church choir. Like most of us, singing in the youth choir, just having something to do on Sundays, and that turned into me getting into middle school and joining the band, joining the drumline. I'm pretty sure everybody's seen the movie Drumline. That's what really inspired me to do it.
Mhm.
Um, Doing that and then getting promoted from there, going to Central High, being in the band there all 4 years. Later on, joining the choir my junior and senior year when I had space on my schedule. Then left there, went to Morehouse, was still in the band. So I've been doing music since I was born, beating on tables, constantly getting in trouble for making noise around the house and singing and dancing all the time. So music was for sure my first love. I always wanted to go to Morehouse too growing up, but music was definitely first.
So, as a Morehouse man, what was your focus? Were you strictly a music major?
Yeah, I was music composition. And for those of you who may not know what music composition is, it's just basically writing music. So anytime that you hear a band playing, anytime you hear an orchestra playing or a choir singing, or maybe if you're listening to a movie and you hear the background music on the movie, somebody has to write the sheet music for that to be played and recorded. That's basically what I went to school for.
Wow. Well, first of all, I just want to say a special shout out to, we have a little history and, well, I know your parents. I'll say it like this. I know
Hmm.
your parents and some of your extended family, and I know your sister. But I have to say that I think that by the time I went away from Memphis, you probably were just starting to hit those beat on those tables because you
Probably.
were so young. You were so young. But of course, now having you back in Memphis, coming back from Atlanta, you graduated in 2018. What made you decide to come back home?
Um, I think the main thing was, for one, I got a job. I got a job back here. With a program called the Memphis Ambassadors Program. And for those of y'all who don't know what that is, it's a program for eighth grade and high school kids, after school and in the summertime, where we just teach them life skills, professional development, personal development, and things of that nature. We touch on all different kinds of topics. And giving back has always been something that I wanted to do. I didn't necessarily like living in Atlanta, too many people, too much traffic. Um, so to be able to come back home and be in a job where I can give back to the youth and also really tap in with the Memphis music scene, because
Mhm.
I was only in Memphis during the summers when I first started making music. When I made my first project, summer 2015, I was in Memphis. But the rest of the year, I'm out in Atlanta, so I'm not really doing anything in Memphis or really tapping in with people in Memphis. So I really wanted that opportunity to come home and tap into the music scene that we have here.
Now, of course, coming back to Memphis, I will say by the time you went away to college and coming back, the Memphis music scene had gone through some changes, particularly in the hip hop arena. So, what did you find when you came back? Because, of course, there's always that struggle between Memphis and Atlanta, and who's hot and things like that. So, where did you fall into that when you came back home?
Oh, when I came back home, it was like right after. Was it right after that? Yeah, it was right after Drake did that song with Block Boy JB. So it was a lot of eyes on Memphis. It was a lot of hype built around Memphis. And that's another reason I came back home, because I really wanted to be a part of the movement that was really starting around that time. And that we can really start seeing more of today, where more underground artists are finally getting the shine that they deserve. And if you're just around in the Memphis music scene, like going to shows and stuff, you're starting to hear way more different sounds be more popularized. So when I came back home, it was kind of like, I don't want to say it was the beginning of that, but a lot of people in my age group were either just graduating from school around that time, or maybe the year before, or were just moving back home around that time. So it was kind of like uh really like a mini Memphis Renaissance going on at that time, and it's still going on right now despite the pandemic and everything.
Wow.
Um, but people were just eager to work, ready to support whatever you really had going. Oh, it was very supportive when I first moved back.
Jay Music, I am so glad you talked about that mini music renaissance that happened. Started about 4 or 5 years ago, indeed. And of course, like you said, once Drake was here, and of course, when Yo Gotti was getting more on the national scene, and of course, Moneybag Yo. And if I'm
Mm-hmm.
mispronouncing names, forgive me now, ladies and gentlemen.
Nah.
um, a lot of people, yeah, a lot of eyes have been on Memphis, and of course, then we have sports now. We're hot there, the fashion, and even the film industry is starting to, build in the city. So a lot of people have been like, yeah, I'm ready to come back home and participate, as you say, and be a part of the new movement. Now, one thing I had a question about is the fact that you talked about the underground music. A lot of people only know Memphis music, as being the blues, rock and roll, or even old school hip hop. Let's talk about the underground music scene.
Okay. Um, it's a lot of sounds. We got a lot of people doing a lot of different good things. To add on to the list you just talked about, I would say that trap music is probably like the number one thing that Memphis is looked for right now, because the biggest artists that have come from Memphis have been trap artists. You mentioned Gotti, you mentioned Moneybag. Um, I talked about Block Boy. But even if we look at Key Glock, we look at Young Dolph, rest in peace. We look
Yeah.
at Big 30. If you're looking at all of these artists that Memphis has produced and has put on the national stage, they really all been trap artists. I can't think of an R&B artist recently that has
Mhm.
come from Memphis and blown up. I can't think of any alternative artists from Memphis that is started here, stayed here, and blown up. Now, there's been a couple of people who left Memphis, went out to Cali, built a fan base up in Cali, and kind of are hitting like a mainstream underground level. But as far as being on the radio all the time and getting that notoriety is mainly just trap artists. But the underground scene has so much more versatility than the city as a whole gets credit for. And you spoke on Memphis and Atlanta kind of always being on this tug of war type thing.
Mhm.
I had an interview when I was doing like my media run for the album that I dropped in February. I did an interview out in Atlanta because I had a stop on my tour out there, and she asked me about the comparison between the two scenes. And if you look at the Atlanta scene, like you can pinpoint so many different Atlanta artists from so many different genres that are getting respect on a national stage. Versus
Right.
from Memphis, if you look at the Memphis national artists or even, you know what I'm saying, global reach artists, they're all trap artists. And I think that until we begin to finally shed the light on the underground scene that it deserves, not only just the trap rappers from the underground scene that happen to blow up, but the R&B guys and girls, the alternative artists, the the rappers who aren't rapping about trap stuff, who aren't rapping about drugs, who aren't rapping about money, who aren't rapping about all this stuff that kind of puts a low vibrational frequency out into our communities. Until we get
Mm.
to a point where we can give the shine to those people who are doing that, we'll never be on the level. We'll never be on the same level as Atlanta. I don't
You know,
think so.
it's so interesting that you talk about the global reach. And right now, you're right, trap artists from Memphis are the ones that are recognized. And then there's a generational gap because also globally, you can still play the Barcades. They still tour. Larry
Yep.
Dodson. You have a lot of funk artists. You have a lot of old school blues artists who can literally right now pack out arenas in Italy, and then you have almost like 40 years, if not 50 years, before, like you say, you have a collection of artists that have really been recognized.
Well,
We don't want to
I could
skip
say
over.
I could say like 3 6 A Ball and MJG, you know what I'm
Right.
saying, in the
That's
nineties.
30 years. Yeah,
And then
about
yeah,
30.
about 30 years. About 30 years, yeah. And then
Yeah.
between them and when Gotti started blowing up was probably like another 5 10.
Yeah. So it's really interesting though, because I think one of the things that's helping Memphis is the new technology, is the digital marketing, which is the social media, being able to introduce the underground of Memphis that oftentimes people never knew. Now, I've lived a couple of the places, but I always end up coming, back to Tennessee. And I remember when I came back from Detroit in the 90s and I fell into the whole artsy scene, and there has always been a groundswell since I've been here since the 90s of that underground sound of the jazz artists, the poets, like you said, the alternative neo soul singers, even the gospel singers who always, kind of do the more avant garde type of music. So it's really interesting, even talking to you, because you like to blend, as I've listened to your playlist over and over, a lot of those sounds, those very things I'm talking about, the blues, the R&B, the classic R&B. Plus, you have a lot of what I call call and response from the gospel vibe, and you also rap. So, how did you come to your sound?
Um, I think it just came with a lot of practice, a lot of recording, a lot of writing. I don't think I have like a very definitive sound, so to speak. Like if you listen to the playlist or if you listen to my last album, like it's so many different vibes on it. I don't like to really box myself in. I would say that my sound is like me kind of doing everything, but that's
Mhm.
because when I was growing up, like I listened to pretty much everything.
Yeah.
I didn't really start listening to rap until I got to middle school. So before then, it was like the neo soul, the old school R&B, or just being out and about in the city and hearing blues and hearing jazz, or being in jazz band in middle school and high school and playing that stuff, and being in concert band and orchestra and playing that stuff. Um, I got
It
fam.
definitely
Most of
has
my
colored
families
your
from
sound. It has
yeah.
definitely colored your sound, J Music, because being a student, most people don't know that before I got into media, I was actually a music major. I did the whole
Hmm.
choir thing, and And in my first 2 years of college, I was a music major, learning theory. But I can tell that you have actually you know the rules, so you know how to break them. And the very fact that you know that you studied music composition, you're very strategic in how you break the rules.
Hmm.
So it's a very eclectic, innovative, captivating Southern charm style that I think lends to your roots, which of course Memphis is always pushing the envelope. We're always, I think, singing from a gritty, soulful place, while also not trying to sound like anybody else. So,
Yeah.
what were some of the influences that you had growing up, specifically as artists? I mean, you talk about the styles of music, but any particular artist that really, of any genre, that really influenced you?
Like you said in the intro earlier, my big three of musical influences are Drake, J. Cole, and Kid Cudi. Um, Drake because I mean he's a hit maker, and everybody likes Drake's music, or everybody can rock with Drake's music. Um, and he just makes it. He makes hits. He's always on the charts.
Yeah.
J. Cole is more so of the storytelling vibe that I get
Mhm.
from him that I try to implement in my music as well. He can paint a picture like most other rappers can't. Like if you sit
Mhm.
down and you listen to a J. Cole song, you close your eyes, you can probably see exactly what's going on or exactly what he's talking about. It's really like he's painting a picture or writing a book for you to read as you
Yeah.
listening.
I
And
love him. I love J.
Yeah,
Cole.
and Kid Cudi is probably my favorite out of the three. Mainly because I started listening to him. I started listening to him around like middle school, and in his music, he talks a lot about like feeling alone. He talks a lot about, you know what I'm saying, dealing with depression and dealing with anxiety and dealing with all these other things that I was just starting to deal with around that time in my life. But as if you listen to a lot of mainstream artists, they don't feel comfortable enough to be vulnerable with their audience to tell them exactly what they're really going through. They don't feel comfortable enough with themselves to tell
Mhm.
us about the struggles that they deal with so
Mhm.
that the listener can potentially take something from those struggles and use it to their own lives. And that's what I did with his music, listening to him talk about certain things and then looking at my life and it's like, okay, I'm going through these same things. So if this famous artist is still dealing with the same things I'm dealing with, maybe it's not so bad, or maybe it's not so abnormal that I feel this way because I'm listening to him talk about the fact
The
that he
same.
feels the same way. So
Mhm.
all of those things are elements of music that I try to put in all of my stuff. You know what I'm saying? Making catchy songs like Drake, being
Yeah.
able to tell a story like J. Cole, and also being able to be vulnerable with my art with my audience like Kid Cudi. So those are my big three.
And actually, as you described that and broke down how they influence you, as I've listened to your playlist, I'm like, okay, I see that. I see that the common thread. And even your most recent album that you dropped in February, H.I.M, H-I-M. Tell me, first of all, what does that acronym stand for?
It stands for highly in tune with myself.
Highly
In tune with myself.
in tuned with myself. And can I say that from some of the previous music, and be sure to check out his YouTube, you all. That's Jai Musiq. That's Jai Music with a Q at the end, because even over the years from your early stuff and looking at your music videos, I even saw the changes in the growth of your artistic approaches. But I did see a common a theme. You use a lot of intergalactic influences when it comes to that. So very otherworldly, and I think this last album really takes you further out. But let's go back to what's your fascination with sci-fi, otherworldly aliens, the cosmos?
I'm pretty sure that you're probably most likely talking about the newest video, the I Don't Belong in This World and Chosen video. The reason that I did that was, for one, I Don't Belong in This World is just talking about how messed up the world is, all the craziness that's going on, and me feeling like I don't belong amongst all the craziness that's going on.
Yeah.
Um, so if I don't belong in this world, then where do I belong? I'm thinking this is like my video concept, like thought process. If I don't belong in this world, where do I belong? It would probably be cool to have an alien abduction in the video. That might cause some buzz or something.
Mhm.
So I did it like that, and then chosen the song chosen is me just talking about um okay, I don't feel like I belong here. This is explicitly why I feel like that.
Mhm.
And in the video, I'm talking to the alien that abducted me about everything that's going on Earth because obviously she doesn't know she's not down there. Well, they might know. I don't know what kind of technology they got up there. Um, but uh, but it's me just basically explaining it. So
Mhm.
as far as the video concept, like I wanted it to seem like I was being taken to another world because I felt like I didn't belong in this one. Um,
That's
I
deep.
can't really pinpoint any other.
There was another one that I thought was really cool, and it was a visual concept video that had a lot of
Oh, are you talking about the B video?
yes,
Yeah,
I love
yeah,
that song.
yeah.
I
So the
absolutely love
B,
the song and just the concept of it.
yeah. So the B video was I wanted to go for like a psychedelic '70s vibe. The original plan that I had for the video was to like do it like based off of Soul Train. Um, but they had a green screen in the studio that I was gonna use, so I was like, it would probably be even cooler if I just put like some cool like psychedelic stuff in the back to kind of just emphasize the vibe of the song and just make it look fun, make it look colorful and cool.
It did. You were successful. Everything from the car to the sound waves to the astronaut that was digging it, dancing and things of that nature. That was very good. Even some of your more real to life music videos. There was one about which was to me a true introvert's song about I don't want to fool with nobody. Uh,
That's how I feel on a daily basis. That's how I feel on a daily basis for real. I'm assuming you're talking about Out the Way.
yes, that's a true introvert song. That is like an anthem right there. Yeah, I'm going to be out the way. Whatever y'all doing, I'm not a
Uh,
part of it.
and
Yes.
it's crazy because I actually wrote and recorded that song in 2017.
Wow.
I recorded in 2017, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it. I dropped the Sap Junt in 2018, but Out the Way didn't fit the vibe of the Sap Junt because on the Sap Junt I'm talking about love and connection and all of that, and it just didn't fit.
Yeah,
So
that
I
definitely
really
didn't
just
fit.
yeah, I really just had like a song for like 3 years, and then the pandemic hit. Um, studios weren't really open like that at the beginning of the pandemic, so I couldn't really record much. Um, so I just took that old song, did a video to it. We in the pandemic, it was pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
In the video, all I'm doing is sitting in the house, playing the game, chilling, working from home. And then I go to my friend's house, and he basically just chilling at the house. Same thing too, like everybody was doing during the pandemic. So I feel like it was just the perfect time to release that. And the fact that I had it for 3 years before then,
Yeah.
and I dropped it and it did what it did, like that just showed me that I guess I knew what I was doing even when I didn't know.
Yeah. And speaking of the pandemic, or I should say the year of 2020, how did it impact you personally and creatively?
Personally, I'll say it gave me a lot of time to reflect. It gave me a lot of time to sit down with myself, which is why the most recent album is called Highly in Tune with Myself. Because I had a lot of time to sit down and get in tune with myself. Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
Thinking about the why I do things the way that I do them, why I act the way that I act, why I feel the way that I feel sometimes.
Mhm.
Um, so personally, it gave me a lot of time really just to get to know myself again.
Mm.
Because before then it was like I'm in school, constantly got all these assignments, constantly working, and then when it comes to the summertime, it's like I'm constantly working on music stuff.
Mhm.
And it's just an endless cycle. Then I graduate and it's like, okay, now I got a job. So now I'm working. And I'm still doing music stuff at the same time. So I'm always busy, always busy. And legit, like before the pandemic hit, like I was probably doing like at least 3 shows a month. At
Wow.
least at least 3 shows
Mhm.
a month. A lot of those were free shows just because I like to perform. I'm trying to get my name out. Some of them were paid for, but I was ripping and running. Like I'm doing shows here. Now I'm going to
Mhm.
Nashville. I'm going to Atlanta. I'm going to Birmingham. And I'm doing all of these shows. And then I had plenty of shows like planned for the rest of 2020, and then pandemic hit. Can't do
Wow.
no shows, can't go nowhere. All you can do is sit in the house, work from home, and really just chill. And that's basically what I did. So that personal growth that I got from there really directly impacted the musical growth that I had. I dropped 2 pandemic albums. I had time to finish the All For Y'all album during the height of the pandemic and dropped it in August of 2020. And then after that,
Yeah.
started working on the H.I.M album. So it gave me a lot of time to sit down and write and plan and
Mhm.
focus on the marketing and business sides of things as well. Because I'm not going all over the place and doing events and doing shows
Mhm.
all the time. I got to find time to be productive while in the house. So what can I do? I can study the
Yeah.
business, I can study the marketing and things of that nature. So I saw a lot of growth in both of those areas, I believe.
Well, J Music, I'm really impressed how you have been juggling for the last several years. You know, college, coming into the workforce, while also staying true to your musical journey. And I have a question as we come to the wrap up. You're early in your career, and I would just like to know, with everything that you're building, what would you want your legacy to be at the end of it all?
You talking about my personal legacy or my musical one?
Both.
Um, I mean, I guess they would be pretty similar. For my personal legacy, I would just want to be known as somebody who showed up for people, who helped when I could, who always had a good vibe, who always showed love. Um,
Mhm.
and hopefully one day along the line I have some kids or something, and they'll be a part of my legacy as well. As far as the music, I just want to be known as being very
Mhm.
consistent with my artistry. So like every song that you hear, every project that I release, every video that I release, I want it to be of good quality.
Mhm.
That's why I tend to take my time between projects. Like I drop like a project like every 2 years, or like a
Okay.
album at least every 2 years.
2 years.
That's what I've been doing. But just known as being consistent, and also um, being known as having music that people can relate to and that people can also learn from.
Hmm.
Um, and also just showing love through the music and just being able to connect with other artists and be known as a versatile person and a versatile artist.
One thing that I did notice as I just kind of like perused your website and social, that you also have a strong sense of Black consciousness, and for your generation, I know that's extremely important. So, what are some of the things that you could just provide us, the older generations, and even those coming behind you, on how we could possibly change the world for the better?
Man, I think the simplest thing with that is just simply moving with love. I think
Hmm.
I think if everybody embodied that attitude, the world would be a better place in all aspects. Because if you look at any problem that we have, any problem in the world today is either due to a lack of compassion or a lack of love shown. Lack of
Hmm.
compassion from the more fortunate to the less fortunate. Uh,
Hmm.
a lack of compassion from, man, white people to black people, police to black people, a lot of people, other people to black people,
Yeah.
and man, black people to ourselves as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, I think that's the simplest thing. Like we have to connect with people, and the pandemic made that tough because I mean we're in the house all the time.
Right.
Um, we the only way that we were really connecting was through social media, and
Right.
everybody has facades on social media. You're not really interacting with the real person 9 times out of 10. um so we really just got to get back to real connection. And as far as the generational gap, that's something that we got to look at. um our generation tends to not want to listen to y'all generation doesn't understand us. And
Right.
it's like it's really no middle ground between it.
Mhm.
But I feel like if our generations can connect on a level where it's like, okay, y'all have been here before, y'all have been
Yeah.
here longer than us, y'all seen a lot more than we have, but at the same time, we're coming with a whole new level
Yeah.
of passion and a level of confidence that y'all didn't necessarily have because
Right.
y'all were told that y'all had to do things a certain way, and y'all
Right.
went ahead, and most of y'all went ahead and just did it that certain way. versus
Right.
us being told that we got to do things a certain way, and we saying nah, and we saying nah, forget that, we gonna do that our way. And if
Yeah.
it don't work out, then it just don't work out. But at least we went the way that we wanted to go.
Yeah.
Um, so I
There's a
think,
lot of lessons across the generations, and oftentimes it's really great to find somebody like yourself who can articulate that and understand that there is, there's a lot of intergenerational wisdom that can be shared both ways. So I appreciate you speaking to that. And for Black Music Month, I'm really grateful that I had a chance to interview you. And I want you all to support Jai Musiq. Be sure to check out his website, Jai Musiq, and that's dot on universe
hmm,
com. Is that correct? Okay.
yes,
And of
ma'am.
course, you can go across all of his social media. He kept it simple for all of us, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Just put in at Jai Musiq. That's JAIMUSIQ. And I believe that you'll be very impressed with this young man. That's check out
Yes,
his
ma'am.
website, jmusic.onuniverse.com. And across all social media, check out Jai Musiq. Thank you, Jai Musiq.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate you for giving me time on your platform.
You're very welcome. And you all have an amazing rest of the day. And coming up next, Tina Tilton's The Blend.